Thank you. Ambassador Carson, as I understand it, discussions are now underway to transition quickly into a UN peacekeeping operation, and I also understand the administration is supportive of this move. As I noted in my opening statement, I'm worried about prematurely taking that step. I think that might lead us right back to square one because, frankly, I don't think there's a peace at this point to keep in Mali. We met with the Secretary General, UN Secretary General yesterday. I know that he agrees with the Foreign Minister of Mali in terms of the situation on the ground, that there isn't a peace to be kept at this moment. So why push for the UN peacekeeping mission at this time? I think we've got plenty of examples on the continent where the conditions for a successful peacekeeping mission did not exist, but were authorized anyway, and we've dealt with some of the challenges as a result. Quite frankly, here what we need are some battle-hardened soldiers like the French Foreign Legion that are engaged there right now that can root out these very violent jihadists before we end up deploying a hamstrung peacekeeping force. And I would ask, have we set yet on the ground conditions, on the benchmarks that must be met prior to deploying this envisioned peacekeeping force? And if so, what are they? And again, just in concept, why push for a UN peacekeeping mission at this time?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very, very much for an excellent question. As I stated in my testimony, we believe that in time that the AFISMA force should transition to a UN peacekeeping force. We do not want to do that hastily. We don't want to do it prematurely. We want to do it at a point at which it is timely and appropriate and is likely to be successful. We want to do it in conjunction with any decisions by the French in their departure, any decisions by the Africans in what they are prepared and want to do, as well as conditions which exist on the ground. But planning is important to help us get a sense of what may be required so that we are not surprised in the future by a sudden French withdrawal and a collection of African forces who might be better managed and organized under a UN peacekeeping regime. We think that over time, the UN does have peacekeeping norms and standards which would be applicable and useful in Mali. I'd add one other thing, Mr. Chairman, and that is that there's going to be an ongoing need for a counterterrorism operation in northern Mali. And that probably will always reside in the hands of the French and not in the hands of the United Nations.
I just wanted to raise our concerns because as we read about the push for the quick transition, you and I think, concur on some of the downsides if we make that too quick. Let me go to a question to Ms. Dorey, because in my opening statement I raised this issue that we were a bit slow in our response to our French ally. We've got multiple news outlets around the world that reported week after week on this story, and we're exactly a month now, I think, into when the French began the operation, but it's only this week that we see that the administration responded affirmatively on some of the provisions of assistance to the French, such as the drawdown authority for refueling and airlift. As I understand it, the French put in the request as soon as the mission started. So if we were to contrast this, and this is what's gleaned the reporting on this, if we were to compare it to the assistance to NATO allies with Libya, those requests for assistance took days. This takes a month. What's the holdup here, and could Congress help speed up this process? Is there something we could do affirmatively to let you know that, yes, we do want to support our ally in this mission?
Thank you, Congressman. Secretary Panetta made very clear as soon as we began to receive French requests that we would be responsive to those as quickly as feasible as befitting allies. The first French requests related to intelligence support, ISR coverage, to airlift, and to refueling. And each of those was met as quickly as feasible. Some of them came almost instantly, and the others followed within days. The reference to paperwork this week signed by the President that approved drawdown authority has to do simply with reimbursement, and the actual services have been provided since much earlier on. The intelligence, all of the channels available to us were fully opened as soon as the French made that request, consistent with the sharing guidelines that we have in place. That happened instantly in Paris and in Bamako, in Senegal. So we were in a position to be very swiftly sharing intelligence. Department of Defense quickly provided.
I don't disagree with you on the intelligence front.
Right.
But you know the issue. You know the issue with respect to support for the French operation, and you know some of the consternation that is created.
In terms of the priorities that we were presented, the first priority was intelligence and ISR support, and that is what we worked in the priorities that we received. The airlift followed second and has been very wholesome. Ambassador Carson gave the statistics to you. We've moved a mechanized battalion at this point from France into theater and are now working on a company that will provide IED support. The refueling services came third. Each of these was subject to legal review that worked relatively smoothly and swiftly. It's never as quick as one might like when you're on the waiting end, but it did move. And the French have expressed their gratitude and their support in multiple different conversations with DOD officials, with State Department officials, with the White House. So we believe we're in good shape in terms of our support to the French and our appreciation for what they are doing in Mali in terms of our shared interest there.
I appreciate the attention to this because obviously the Secretary of Defense, Panetta, was quite concerned about the length of time and the fact that, as he said, every time he turned around, you know, he was facing a group of lawyers that were holding up the process. So we appreciate the attention to this. My time has expired. I'm going to go to the ranking member, Mr. Engel. Thank you.